February 1897. In the Bronzecasters, quarter of Igun Street, before the city fully wakes, Osaro feeds the furnace its first breath. The charcoal catches orange, then white, and the heat presses against his face like a living thing. His hands move through gestures older than memory, shaping beeswax into the contours of a king's procession, each detail a prayer. For 5 centuries, the Igun Eronmwon Guild has held this sacred commission, to cast the face of royalty into immortal bronze, to press time itself flat against gleaming metal. His father taught him. His grandfather taught his father. The knowledge runs in his blood, like the Ikpoba River runs to the sea. But this morning, beneath the furnace's steady roar, something else moves through the city. A whisper carried on the Harmattan wind, growing louder with every hour. Within the palace compound, beneath carved ivory tusks that tower like the bones of fallen giants, Osaro kneels before Igun Eronmwon, 35th Oba of the Benin Kingdom, keeper of an unbroken dynasty stretching back 5 centuries. The air is thick with camwood smoke and the musk of leopard skins. The Oba's voice is low, deliberate, each word placed like a stone in still water. He unrolls a cloth bearing ancestral sketches. Warrior kings, spear-bearers, the founding fathers of an empire carved from the forest's heart. This is not merely a commission. It is a reckoning. Igun Eronmwon knows what advances from the coast. Iron ships, rifle smoke, men who have never spoken his name yet have already decided his fate. The plaque must be cast. The ancestors must be remembered. And so Osaro returns to Igun Street, to fire up a furnace that may be the last his hands ever tend. In the amber glow of oil lamps, Osaro's hands move with the certainty of a man who has learned to speak through metal. The wax yields to his fingers, warm, obedient, alive. Beside him, young Edo watches each figure emerge, a warrior king receiving tribute, priests bearing sacred leopards, the great Oba Ewuwere commanding the heavens themselves. Generations pressed into soft yellow wax, held there like breath. The workshop smells of beeswax and charcoal, and the particular urgency of vanishing time. Osaro knows these faces. He has carried them since boyhood, passed down through blood and gilding oath. Then, sandaled feet on packed earth, a voice ragged with running. The British column has crossed the forest boundary. They are not days away. They are hours, and the wax is not yet finished. From the rooftop of his compound, Osaro can see them. Amber wounds torn open against the darkening sky, the outlying villages already surrendering to flame. The smell reaches Igun Street before the news does. Wood smoke laced with something sharper, something final. Below him, the quarter convulses. Neighbors wrap bundles in haste. Children clutch at mothers, wrappers, the ancient rhythms of the guild dissolving into the chaos of flight. His wife's face, upturned and desperate, carries a grief older than this single night. Young Edo stands motionless at the forge, eyes asking the question no apprentice should ever have to ask his master. The bronze plaque sits unfinished, cooling, waiting, its royal faces half born from the metal. Osaro does not move. And in that stillness, the most consequential decision of his life begins to take its shape. He works alone now. The crucible glows white-hot, a small sun cradled in clay and iron, indifferent to the thunder rolling in from the forest edge. Osaro lifts the vessel with hands that have known this weight since boyhood. The weight of ancestors, of obligation, of a civilization rendered in alloy. The molten bronze pours in a single, unwavering arc, copper and tin surrendering to each other in blinding silence. It smells of earth and lightning. It hisses as it finds the channels of the mold, filling the carved faces of kings, the ceremonial leopards, the warriors frozen mid-triumph. Cannon fire shakes the compound walls. He does not flinch. This is not defiance. This is devotion made material. A prayer the British cannot translate, a memory they cannot burn. But the morning will demand something of him yet. The walls have fallen. Through the acrid haze of burning thatch, British rifles crack and echo across the narrow compounds of Benin City like the splitting of ancient timber. 2 streets away. Only 2. Osaro does not run. His hands move through the smoke-thickened air with the practiced certainty of a man who has spent 40 years coaxing memory into metal. He wraps the cooling mold in dyed cloth, each motion deliberate, almost ceremonial. One by one, the palace bronzes, faces of kings, processions of warriors, centuries pressed into gleaming alloy, disappear beneath layers of red sand and silence. The workshop floor swallows them whole. Outside, boots strike earth that does not know their weight. The fire is closer now, and Osaro finally rises, covered in sand and ash, and turns toward the door. From the shadows of a scorched iroko tree, Osaro watches. The palace compound, sacred, eternal, is being unmade. Soldiers move in deliberate columns, hands reaching into shrines they cannot name, lifting bronzes they cannot read. A plaque his grandfather cast 40 years ago. The Oba mounted on horseback, attendants at his stirrups, coral beads raised in perpetual ceremony, passes through a soldier's indifferent grip like firewood. The smoke of burning thatch stings Osaro's eyes, though he tells himself that is the reason for his tears. Centuries of memory are loaded onto wooden crates, catalogued by strangers, destined for distant rooms where no one will hear them speak. He presses his fist against the earth, silent, powerless. But somewhere beneath the ash, the last bronze he cast still waits, and so does his choice. The smoke has thinned. The silence that follows destruction is its own kind of violence. Osaro moves through the ash and collapsed timber of Igun Street, like a man reading a language written in ruin. He knows exactly where to dig. His hands find the earth, still warm beneath the surface, and the earth gives back what it was trusted to keep. The plaque emerges, bronze catching pale morning light, every ancestor's face intact, every warrior king rendered in perfect, imperishable detail. Edo appears at the workshop threshold without a word. Together, master and apprentice work rags across the surface, salt and tamarind lifting the grime, revealing what fire could not unmake. The memory of a civilization, held in metal, breathes again. But the bronzes hidden in the earth are only part of what was taken, and what remains hidden will soon begin a far longer journey. They move before dawn, when the smoke still hangs low between the iroko trees, and the city behind them glows like a wound that will not close. Osaro carries the bronzes wrapped in raffia and cloth, bound against his body. The weight of kings, of ceremonies, of 1,000 years of knowing who one is. Edo walks ahead, reading the forest paths by feel and memory. The plaques do not rattle. He has seen to that. Around them, Benin City breathes its last as roof timbers crack and the brass leopards melt into nothing. But not these. Not today. Every step northward is an argument against erasure. A quiet, unbreakable insistence that conquest can take a city, but it cannot take a people's memory of themselves. What waits in the deep forest will determine whether that argument is ever heard. His hands move through smoke and firelight, pressing the final details into wax. Each ancestor's face a prayer cast in metal, each line an act of defiance against erasure. The bronze will outlive the fire. It does. Today it sits behind climate-controlled glass in a European institution, illuminated by curated spotlights, labeled in a language Osaro never heard spoken. Visitors pause before it for seconds, perhaps minutes. They do not know his name. Preservation, it turns out, is never neutral. It carries the fingerprints of those who decide what deserves to endure, and where, and for whom. The plaque remembers the Oba's ancestors. But who remembers the hands that made it? Somewhere in the ashes of Igun Street, that question still burns. And its answer, long suppressed, is finally demanding to be heard.